The fourth and current usage of Alcatraz Island is as a national park. As I mentioned, the plan to use Alcatraz as a national park was approved during the occupation of the Indians of all tribes. The Golden Gate National Recreation Area was created in 1972 as part of the new National Park Service. In 1973, the island opened to the public in order to promote the history of the island. As I mentioned in one of the previous videos, every day more people travel to Alcatraz Island to visit than were incarcerated there in its entire 29-year history as USP Alcatraz. From all across the world, millions of people travel to San Francisco just to visit Alcatraz Island. Aside from just a tourist destination, Alcatraz also serves as a bird sanctuary. The only mammal that lives on this island is a small field mouse, and the absence of four-legged predators has made the island a nice home for the birds. Large colonies of cormorants and gulls nest here, and if you'll remember, the original name of the island, Alcatrazes, comes from the Spanish word for pelicans, or sometimes it's translated as strange bird. In addition to the animals, plant life has taken over the island. While occupied as a military installation and as a federal prison, many gardens would have been planted. Once the island was abandoned, these gardens would have overgrown their original boundaries and taken over the slopes of the rocky island. As a national park, the ecological preservation of these flora and fauna are a priority, in addition to providing educational services about the island's history. So as I finish up this video series, I just wanted to show a few more pictures. Some of these have shown up in the other videos, but with the intention here of pointing out just the plant and animal life. So just the overgrowth, and these are going to be somewhat managed now. This is, I think, one of the best pictures at showing these rocky slopes and how the plant life has taken over. It's a nice looking garden, but this is not generally the kind of thing you would want to see in a prison that's advertised as escape proof. This is way too bushy and way too many spots where people could hide. You'd want it to be more close cropped than this. They move down, you can see some more of the plants. I brought this picture in to just kind of illustrate the varied plant life. And in this one, you can see these little gulls. It's very hard to take a picture without any birds in there. I think there's one or two maybe that I took outside the cell house, showing the plants that don't have birds in it. And as you can see, they are everywhere on this island. Another of the cell house with just some more plants. This one I think does a better job of illustrating how they're just growing out of the rock hillsides of the island. This might have been a place where nothing originally was planted, but after abandonment, these plants just take over. Some more. So the earlier picture is just a little further down the cell block. This is the dining hall and kitchen, the wall to the recreation yard. You can see the water tower there and how these plants have grown here. Another little garden area with the gulls. Some of these are labeled Persian, carpet. I can't read most of these now. This shows the rubble down on the parade ground from the family housing. The federal government tore these buildings down to deter other groups from occupying the island. And again, you can see how after some abandonment, these areas aren't going to be used very often. They're not going to be maintained like they were when families lived on the island, and it won't take long for these plants to just overtake this whole area. Here's another view of the fire-ravaged warden's home. Just shows the plants even taking over what's left, this outer concrete shell of the warden's house. Here's a bird bath. The reason I took this picture, you can see these gulls up here. I took this picture. It's hard to see without zooming in, there's some little chicks nesting right under this little green leafy plant. From outside the context of these photos in general, this looks like you could see this at any park anywhere in the country. It doesn't look like you would find it necessarily at a historical site of a U.S. Penitentiary, but here it is. First, when I saw these, I thought these looked a lot like penguins, and even now you can kind of see penguin-like behavior the way some of them are standing. But these are some sort of cormorant. They're definitely not penguins nesting here. So this is kind of who lives here. This is what the island's about. They don't care about the military history or the U.S. prison. They don't care about the Indians of all tribes. They're just doing their thing. And again, all these plants that have overgrown. This is another photo from the warden's house. These gulls just hanging out. The new industries building. Here's another photo. I think the same birds. These little chicks there. And then the stairs walking up to the recreation yard from that new industries building with the overgrown plants. You can see it's kind of maintained. It's probably maintained. This is available for tourists, but it's coming in here. It's going to grow. So this is probably a lot less manicured than it would have been during the island's usage. So this last photo, I've used this a lot. It's the best photo I have of the entirety of the cell block. And just point out again, if you haven't noticed up to this point, if you look out here on the rec yard, so this over here would have used to been where the inmates played baseball. The rec yard was paved very early on, but a small section over here was left unpaved, and it's grown up obviously, but you can see the evidence. This is not paint drippings. This is all evidence of the bird life from Alcatraz. So the island that was named after birds definitely lived up to that name.